Hello everyone, I'm Kat from the Littlestown Library of the Adams County Library System, and welcome to today's reading of stories honoring Native American Heritage Month. Today we are reading a story from Treasury of American Indian Tales by Theodore Woodson Ressler. The story is called The Tribes Gather. The Cree were Plains Indians. Today their village was full of activity. A hunting party had just returned after a very successful hunt. The braves were already around the great council fire, telling of their exploits. Among these warriors was Slow Tongue, whose bravery and courage among the Cree was never questioned. When all the celebrating was over, Slow Tongue returned to his teepee and his family. His young son, Swift Hawk, had waited up for him, and, with pride in his eyes, he looked up into his father's face and said, "I am very proud to have you for my father." "My young son, it is long past your bedtime, and you should have closed your ears to the night noises of the prairie many hours ago. But I must also say that I am proud to have you as a son, and tomorrow we shall talk, and I shall tell you all about the hunt." Slow Tongue turned to leave his son's side when he heard a noise at the entrance of his teepee. "Slow Tongue," a voice called quietly, "it is I, Seeing Bear. Come, I must speak with you." Slow Tongues left the teepee. "Why do you call me from my teepee so late in the night, Sleeping Bear?" he asked. "I am tired, and my buffalo robe beckons to me to come and wrap myself in its warm folds, for my body aches." "Look, Slow Tongue, look to the north. At first I thought the heat of the day made me see things that do not exist, but now I am sure it has not. Look and tell me what you see." Slow Tongue turned his head to the north and gazed out into the darkness of the night. Far in the distance he saw a red glow which disappeared, appeared again, and disappeared many times. "What can it mean, Slow Tongue?" "It is a message, Seeing Bear. The fire signal tells that the tribes of the plains are gathering for the sun dance. Truly, this is great news. Tomorrow we must break camp and leave for the northern meadow of the Blue Star, for it is there that the great celebrations will be held. You go to the southern part of the village, and I will go to the northern part, and we will spread the word. It is late and many are asleep, but surely this is news for which they will be glad to be awakened." The next morning there was great excitement in the Cree village. The gathering for the sun dance not only meant gathering to celebrate the greatest religious ceremony of the Plains Indians, but it also meant that it would be a time for great feasts, mock battles, ceremonial hunts, and the recounting of the past year's experience with many old friends. And of course, the men looked forward to smoking the ceremonial pipes, which was also a part of this great occasion. The tribe had soon broken down its village and packed, and the great procession headed north toward the meadow of the Blue Star. For 2 days and 2 nights the Cree village moved northward. Their progress was slow but steady, and there was much gaiety. There was much to look forward to, and many of the younger braves could hardly be kept from rushing on ahead of the tribe. Soon other tribes began to join the Cree in their trek north. In all directions, smoke signals could be seen, sent up by eager messengers reporting the movements of the tribes as they converged on the sacred grounds. It was very clear to Swift Hawk now that friend and enemy were walking side by side. This was one time during the year when the burning desire to strike out at your enemy was replaced by a stronger desire to do worship together in the hope of a good year to come. Soon the meadow of the Blue Star was reached, and the tribe of Swift Hawk chose a place to set its village in the great circle, with the tribe's sacred teepee as its center. Campfires began to burn merrily, and the smell of cooking food filled the air. Old and young warriors walked about to renew old acquaintances and talk about what had happened during the past year. Dancers could be seen here and there practicing seriously for the time of the great ceremony. Soon word spread through the encampment that there were to be riding contests at the far west of the meadow on the following day. These contests would be open to young braves who had made their first buffalo kill during the last year. This made Swift Hawk leap and shout for joy. Just last month he had brought down his first buffalo. This meant he could enter the riding contest. For many years now, Swift Hawk had watched the contests from afar. Each year he promised himself that next year he would enter and win. Each year his father told him to be patient and that his time would come. It was a very difficult contest to test the skills of the young warriors. Each boy was to start his ride from the top of a hill that sloped sharply down into the meadow. At every 100-yard point along a twisting path down the steep slope, for a distance of 500 yards, were 4 sets of poles, 2 poles to each set. Each set was driven in the ground a buffalo's length apart until they stood between 4 and 5 feet above the ground. Between these 2 poles, a buffalo hide was stretched to look like a buffalo running directly toward the sloping path, his flank towards the young warriors as they rode down. Each brave was allowed a bow of his choice, 4 arrows, and a quiver. The brave, when given the signal to go, would race down the slope at full speed, drawing an arrow from the quiver and bending his body down under the neck of his pony and holding on with his feet. He would aim the arrow under the neck of the pony and shoot the arrow into the buffalo hide. He would do this with each of his 4 arrows. Such a contest would surely test the strength and courage of any young brave. But young Indians were brought up to fear little and to welcome a test like this. For this reason, it was no surprise to the great chieftains when a rather large group of young braves gathered at the starting point the next morning. Each boy sat astride a fine-looking pony, usually the gift of his father or some other leading member of the tribe. Each boy had his bow, his quiver, and 4 very special arrows, which had been worked over and cared for like a pet or one of the family. Final instructions were given to the young braves, and the riding contest was on. There was a great cheer from all who were watching as each rider left the starting point. This was a friendly match among boys from many tribes that often fought each other the rest of the year. Down the steep slope, a lone warrior could be seen stationed at each buffalo hide. Here he could not only retrieve arrows, but help to judge the young braves as they rode by and fired at the target. Soon it was Swift Hawk's turn. Remembering all that his father had taught him, he dug his heels into the pony's sides and started his fast and dangerous ride. Carefully he drew an arrow from the quiver, then bending under the pony's neck, he placed the arrow to the bow, and as the target came into view, Swift Hawk let his arrow fly. He heard the plunk as the arrow struck the hide. With his head still under the pony's neck and riding so hard, he could hardly have seen where it had landed, but a loud cheer told him that he had made a good shot. Down the steep, winding course, Swift Hawk swiftly shot his arrows at the 3 other targets and went back toward the starting point. As he reached the hilltop, he heard a great shout go up. Looking down the course, he saw a young crow brave just turning his pony to return to the starting point. The loud cheer meant that he had ridden well and made many good hits. One by one, each of the other young braves made his attempt, but none could equal the riding and the skill of the young Crow Indian. And so it was, when the last contestant had made his ride and fired no better than the rest, that the Crow brave was announced as the winner. Swift Hawk was one of the first to reach his side and congratulate him on his victory. Deep in his heart, Swift Hawk was sad, but he was also very happy for this young brave. Surely the young man had deserved to win, and above all, Swift Hawk realized how happy the young brave and his family must be that he had won. The contest over, Swift Hawk returned to his home and his father, disappointed but not unhappy now. There would be other contests, and this was a time of celebration and joy. His father found him sitting beside a tree stump. "You did very well, my son," Slow Tongue said, placing his hands upon Swift Hawk's shoulders. "The crow boy who won did just a little bit better, but all the Cree are proud of you. There will be other contests and many games. Soon your turn will come. But even if it should not, remember what I have told you. As long as you play fair with your fellow braves and obey the rules, there is nothing to be ashamed of when you lose to someone who plays fair and has great skill." "Thank you, Father. I shall always remember that." Games and new contests were beginning. Just as Swift Hawk's father had told him, his time would come, and sooner than he expected. In the foot race, he ran much faster than any of his fellow braves, winning easily. Swift Hawk was as good a winner as he had been a good loser, boasting to no one about his victory. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time.